Hello and welcome to Catholic Unscripted. You may have noticed that from time to time, Gavin, Mark and myself read articles that we've written elsewhere as pieces to camera in what we cleverly call Bennett scripted, Lambert scripted and Ashenden scripted. Well, today I thought I'd share with you an article that I've written for the Catholic Herald about Wear Red Day, or inspired at least by Wear Red Day. So this is an initiative started a few years ago which says show racism the red card, and children are marched into school wearing red t-shirts and jumpers, and people go to workplaces wearing red to show their non-racist credentials. And so I have written the following, which is, you can see, white shaming and diversity hires are no ways to fight racism. And so here's my article. Earlier this year, Matt Walsh, in collaboration with the Daily Wire, produced the film Am I Racist? This 2 years after his film which asks, what is a woman? Money for old rope, you might imagine, from the titles of the film. But the times in which we live won't accept old rope. They want invisible cord weaved together by unicorns masquerading as old rope, which is harder to come by. Be under no illusion, if that's still possible. Walsh earned his money. There was a time not so long ago when you could tell if someone was racist by their attitude and behaviour towards those of a race different to their own. But that became too difficult to spot as we all became more stupid. So, instead of forming our kids in faith and repairing a suboptimal education system, new ways of spotting a racist had to be implemented. One apparently foolproof method adopted by a number of schools this October is Wear Red Day. Remember that it's not enough to not be racist. We have to be anti-racist. And how do we prove that we're anti-racist? Easy. Wear red on today, Friday the 18th of October. With this simple trick, we no longer need to think critically, dialogue closely, speak the truth and love sacrificially. We can simply update our wardrobe with high-priced, low-quality merchandise from anti-racist charities. And so, as we send our children off to school in their red t-shirts and jumpers, watching as they gather into their self-segregated groups, listening as the red-clothed kids shout racial slurs to one another, and glancing at the poor kid in the white t-shirt, getting a good kicking that will turn his t-shirt red, we can relax and know who the racists are by the clothes they wear. Look, this reluctance to deal with the complex realities of life, choosing instead to make a gimmick out of everything, is turning our brains to mush. Mushy-brained morons will become our future leaders, engineers, pilots, dentists and brain surgeons. It's no wonder they want to push an assisted suicide bill through Parliament before Christmas. While travelling recently through Dublin, I was at Dublin Airport on my way to London with Ryanair. I saw a vision of this future. Having arrived early with Mark Lambert at the airport, we tried to check in via machine. I was told that check-in had not opened yet for my flight. Standing about 12 foot away from me was a tall black man in a bright yellow jumper, emblazoned with blue writing, informing me that he was there to help. Taking his jumper seriously, I approached and asked him when check-in would open for my flight. He stared at me for longer than I was comfortable with and didn't say anything. He pointed across the room at a white woman wearing cabin crew uniform. I explained to her that the tall man wearing a bright yellow jumper offering help had been unable to help me. He can't speak English, she said. I then asked whether it might not be better to save the I'm here to help jumpers for those who can speak English, which he may be able to do at some point in the future. She looked horrified. You can't discriminate against somebody who's black, she said. But you can and must discriminate based on competency in the workforce, I suggested. To which she replied, that's racist. And so it is that I, who was not racist in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and 2010s, am now racist in the 2020s. On returning home, I relayed the story to a friend whose husband runs a large company and conducts final interviews for those put forward at previous stages. She explained how he had to terminate an interview because the candidate placed before him was woefully unable for the job that he had applied for and been put forward for. A job which, it's worth noting, if he had done badly, would cost lives. But the candidate was black, and so now this man is fearful of the inevitable accusations of racism. I suggested he quickly go and get himself a red t-shirt to prove otherwise. The solution to our failure of love lies in a Christocentric theology, which allows us to see Christ in others. This is what we should be teaching our young people in schools today. Such a theology offers a true antidote to the poison of hatred, supremacy, envy, and pride, all the things that see men turn against one another. The seed of racism, as with every other sin, was planted in Eden, where man turned away from his creator and division occurred. Man separated from God, man separated from woman, body separated from soul. Healing happens not by wearing red jumpers and arbitrarily giving people jobs based on race, thus, by the way, placing them often in horrible and difficult situations which they are ill-equipped for, but by recognising the face of Christ in the other. Perhaps if our schools did more of that, we wouldn't need these gimmicks, which only serve to mask the problems. In our dying culture, now bleeding out, reaching for sticking plasters to patch a gaping wound will not work. We need the divine physician, not one appointed to fill the latest quota.